Yo, what's good? It's me, Tim Keys, and I'm back to talk about Serum 2. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, if you are familiar with VSTs and plugins and you've been doing music production for any period of time, I'm pretty sure you have heard about Serum. Serum, the original VST plugin, came out sometime between 2014 2015, and upon its release, it was a groundbreaking plugin. And it was quite remarkable in the sense that you had a powerful implementation of wavetable synthesis. You could manipulate the wavetable in real time using a variety of features. You could create your own wavetables using their extensive wavetable editor, and you had the ability to manipulate partials. You had the ability to do FM synthesis. You had the noise oscillator. You had a sub oscillator. And I mean, the layout was just so straightforward and easy to use that, even if you weren't like a super hardcore sound designer, you could look at the plugin and make pretty much whatever sound you wanted. You could make something, even if you weren't, an expert, just because the plugin was easy to use and the layout was, for the most part, fairly straightforward. For its time when it first came out, it was kind of like it became the plugin to get. It kind of dethroned Massive as a industry standard plugin to use for creating all sorts of different tones. Serum 2 came out about a month ago, and in my opinion, it kind of built on that legacy in the sense that they really didn't take anything away from the original. They just added to it. Instead of having 2 oscillators, you now have 3 oscillators. And within each of those oscillators, you have multiple methods of sound manipulation, including wavetable, multi-sample, sample, granular, and spectral. You still have your sub oscillator available, so if you want to get some heavy basses or just add, I won't say thickness, but yeah, thickness to your sounds. You also have the noise oscillator, which, just like the original Serum, gave you the ability to load in samples into the noise oscillator. Therefore, if you wanted to do one shots in that manner, you still could. Now you don't have to, because we have the sample engine included, multi-sample and sample. So I'll go over these. I'm pretty sure you've seen all the other videos, but let's go over them. So the wavetable synth, as we all know, we have our wavetables, and what you can do in the editor is you can go and just add additional waveforms. You can adjust the shape as you like. You can go over here and manipulate the partial, kind of changing out how you want your waveform to sound. You could enter a formula here, put in an equation, so to speak, just to kind of like get some different sounds going. Again, this was very comprehensive for its time when it first came out, and them adding to the features already there, kind of streamlining some things and making it more easy to use. It's always great. With the wavetable, of course, you can always adjust the position here. You can turn on the warp, pick your warp type, and do some different things here, as you can see me doing. So yeah, there's that. Going forward, we're going to go straight into the multi-sample engine. The multi-sample engine, as it says, it gives you the ability to load in multi-samples of different instruments. Multi-samples are cool for if you want to capture an instrument, you would do multiple recordings of that instrument just so it can sound more realistic. Yes, in 2025, we have time stretch, so you can take a one shot and spread it out through the entire key group, key bed of your instrument, plug-in, VST, whatever. However, generally speaking, having multi-samples and multiple recordings of the same instrument gives you the ability to have a more comprehensive and realistic tone and capture of that instrument. And this is important when it comes to acoustic instruments like your pianos and cellos and violins and things of that nature. I'm just going to pull up one of these. Turn up the release. All right, so there's that. The cool part about the multi-sample engine is you not only have the ability to have whatever's available in the folder and the factory preset, you can also load in your own sound font files. So that's always a welcome addition. I don't know who still uses sound fonts these days. I don't really hear about them much. It seems like for the most part, most folks use your standard waveforms, or they may use the sound font 2 versions. But either way, I'm glad to see this there, and it kind of makes loading in multi-samples a lot easier. But anyway, moving forward, we're going to the sample engine. Sample engine is, as it says it is. You load in a one shot, press the octave key. So that's pretty much that. You got your parameters, adjusting the octave, semitones, fine tuning. You can adjust different things here. You add FM. That's got to be interesting to be able to put FM on a sample and have, per se, wavetable, frequency modulate, FM, turn it on. Let's drop that down. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm going about this the wrong way. I wonder if you can do that. If you can take the sample and have the sample modulate the wavetable, or vice versa. If you can have the wavetable frequency modulate the sampler. I don't see why you couldn't, but I haven't experimented with all of that. However, the sheer fact that you have these different ways of warping the sample to create different textures is pretty cool. Moving forward, let's go into granular. Same idea. Granular synthesis is another form of sample manipulation. Let's cut this off because that's going to get on my nerves. And I want to change the sound to something different. I'm going to go back here to let me take my time and breathe. Going into bode, let's do the cello. Keep going. You can do some different things to warp it. Phase distortion. It's an amplitude modulation, ring modulation. That's cool. You got your filters and your distortions. So again, a lot of stuff here. Change the density. That's going to eat up my computer. I am running on a laptop. For the sake of convenience, my laptop is not as powerful as my desktop, so you will probably hear some glitches. Especially when I start playing chords. One thing to keep in mind, Serum 2, I will definitely say Serum 2, just like its predecessor, is definitely a CPU hog. It is resource intensive, and so if you're not running a strong computer, you will definitely eat up your RAM fairly quickly. You can make some adjustments by going into your global settings and changing the quality from high, ultra, and good. I'm going to go with good. It won't make too much of a difference. I am playing a 4-note chord, a 7th chord. You're still going to hiccup just because, again, it's resource intensive. Nevertheless, the granular engine, it sounds nice in my opinion, and I think it's a welcome addition to the plugin. They give you a lot of different features without, you know, going overboard. Everything is kind of laid out in front of you. So again, that's a plus. Lastly, there's the spectral synth. Oh my word, yeah, you can hear that. And again, you have all of the different ways that you can manipulate the sound. However, you can go into your filter, go into the factory. You're going to get some different filter shapes that you can use. You definitely got to be careful with these when you're experimenting, because as you're adjusting the frequencies, you can certainly hurt your ears. So if it's very loud, I apologize. You can go into this area right here and edit to different points. Change the sound. Once you get the curve in that you like, you can change it. So that's pretty cool. I'm not an expert on spectral synthesis. I know Reason's Grain has some form of spectral analysis in their device. So does Pad Shop Pro 2, Halion 7, also in the Steinberg, wheelhouse of VST plugins. Iris also has spectral manipulation, although I don't think Isotope has done anything with Iris in a hot minute. I think it's been discontinued, which that's unfortunate. They should bring that back, but that's for another video. At any rate, this is a welcome addition to the plugin. You got your mixer over here, so you can make some adjustments on the fly. You have your effects engine over here. Hit the effects. You got all the different types of effects that you can choose from chorus to compressor, convolution, delay, distortion, all the things. You can read about it. You can see it. Then you have your modulation matrix and then your global settings. Again, I won't beat the horse because there's nothing to beat at this point. Like, if you play with Serum 1 and you own Serum 1, then you know what it is with Serum 2. I highly advise you to just upgrade it, because there's no reason not to. If you're an owner of Serum 2, go ahead and upgrade and get it. Pardon me. If you own Serum 1, go ahead and upgrade for Serum 2 because it is free. It is free to use. Lastly, I want to talk about the filters, because the filters in Serum made me jealous. Like, there are so many different filters in Serum, just different ways of carving out sounds. And then now they have the new filters like the Wasp, DJ Mixer, Diffuser, Moog Ladder, Acid Ladder. I think the Acid Ladder, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, is from modeled after, I think it's the Korg MS-20, if I'm not mistaken, which is a cool filter in its own right. And you can definitely get some aggressive tones with that filter. I could be wrong, and I could be thinking of TB303, but I don't know. Either way, the fact that they added these all in is a welcome addition. And yeah, I'm pretty green with envy when it comes to all of these different filters, but just because, again, there's so many different ways you can like carve out tones and, just get different types of sounds. And most other plugins don't have this, and it makes me jealous. Like, for Serum, like, I wish other plugins that were wavetable synths had the same type of filters, or at least half of them that Serum has, because it's gonna make for great broad ranges of sound creation. So that's the plus. Here's the downside. I'm going to get to it real quick. The one thing I did not like about Serum, outside of the fact that it's resource intensive, is the fact that I'll do something simple. Let's initialize. Maybe I can't initialize. I'll do a simple piano. When you play with Serum, what I have found for me, oh my gosh, I'm not even going to be able to do it. If I am, let's turn off that oscillator. I'm going to cut all the unison back. Yeah, that is not going to work. The patch would sound good if you didn't hear all the strings in the background. I'm going to reinitialize and show it to you. Basically, what happens with Serum is, from my experience, and it could just be the fact that I'm using it in Reason, but I highly doubt that because no other plugin does that in Reason. When I use this plugin, if I'm trying to do like a run on the keyboard, I got 4 notes down right now. 5, 6. I couldn't even get to 6. 5. If I'm trying to do like a scale or some form of arpeggiation, the notes keep dropping. That's problematic when playing. At first, I thought it was something I was doing because when I first tested out this plugin, I was using this right here. And again. And more than 6, the notes would drop. Now, you might be saying, well, that's the polyphony. So I'll drive the polyphony up and I'll play it back on my controller. Same thing. Same thing. The notes cut off. Now, hopefully that's something that they'll fix, and it might just be a bug as a consequence of like the first, the batch that came out, and hopefully with, some small update, they have addressed this issue. I do find that problematic. Outside of that, the plugin itself is very powerful. It's a good plugin. If you got Serum 1, it's a no-brainer. Get Serum 2 because it's free. It's free to update. On the other hand, because it's 2025 and, in that 11 year time frame from Serum 1 to Serum 2, there have been a boatload of plugins that have come out that have kind of also filled that space for wavetable synthesis. Some paid, some free. I'm thinking on the free side, Vital. Vital is a remarkable wavetable plugin, extremely powerful, and it's free. You can sign up and get the free version, and you're going to be able to do a boatload of stuff. It also has its own wavetable editor. I don't think it's quite as easy to use as Serum, but it's pretty good in its own right. There's also Vaporizer, which used to be a paid plugin, but now it's available for free as well. Vaporizer 2, you got multiple oscillators and different waveforms. It also has its own wavetable editor. You can do FM. I think they have 3 or 4 oscillators themselves. They also have a sample based / granular based. Pardon me. Pardon me. I apologize. Also has a sample based granular engine in it. And again, that's also available for free. They don't have quite as many filters in it, but as an alternative, it's free. So if you need wavetable synthesis, you can get Vital and Vaporizer 2 for absolutely free. So there's that. Also, Pigment 6 is another direct competitor. Pigment 6 came out not too long ago. Pigment 6 also has multiple synth engines in it, from analog modeling to wavetable to its own version of FM to additive to granular sampling, granular synthesis, sample playback. And while there's some differences, there's certainly some overlap. Also, Pigments is a cheaper price point. Serum 2 is on sale right now. You can get it for $1.89, and then eventually the sale will go up to about $250. However, pigments from Arteria is normally $200, but it is on sale multiple times a year for about $100. And since I bought pigments back in 2018, late 2017, early 2018, pigments has been absolutely free for its updates. When pigment started out, all it had was wavetable synthesis and analog modeling with the simple waveforms and some light form of FM between the two. As a version 6, they have all of these different engines, including the physical model based engine that's included. I think it's like the modal synth engine. So yeah, like there's some steep competition for Serum. There's also Vengeance or Avenger 2, I think it is, that's out. Avenger 2, while it's not as quite as easy to use in terms of its layout as Serum is, it is very comprehensive in its own right. And again, it's another plugin that has multiple modes of sound manipulation in one device. And it's normally going for like about $220. So you take your pick. And then there's the hardware side of things. So the other side of that is, depending on where you are in your music journey, there is hardware at this point that can cover the sonic grounds and capabilities of a Serum from the tone generation standpoint. And I'm thinking Arteria Micro Freak and Mini Freak. Both of those hardware units have multiple synth engines, including your wavetable. You can't do wavetable editing, but you have wavetable synthesis, virtual analog. You have a boatload of sampling, granular synthesis, and I think you have FM and maybe some form of additive, if I'm not mistaken, but don't hold me to that one. But either way, like, you have multiple methods of synthesis, and Mini Freak it ranges. You can get in the used market for as low as $230. You can get it for as high as $350 brand new. Micro Freak is a little bit more expensive. It's in the $400, $500 range. Beyond that, if we're talking like Serum in a box with all the different, bells and whistles, think like the Waldorf line with the Iridium, the Quantum, 1 or 2. And at that point, you've got a wavetable, granular synth, all the things, all in a hardware unit with the knobs that you can touch and play with and the touch screen and everything else. So depending on where you are, you may not find Serum as appealing. So yeah, I would say, like anything at this point, it just depends on what your needs are. I think for the layout of the unit itself, like its predecessor, everything is straightforward. It's not too hard to figure out. Take a little bit of time to dig in and experiment, and you can get some great sounds. And it's got good presets, coming in and out the gate. So if you're not someone who wants to dig in and create different sounds, just go into the presets, pick a sound. I'll only push one key down so I don't cause an explosion. Oh my gosh. It's so hard on this laptop. So hard on this laptop. I can't get past that. It's so hard on this laptop. Maybe I'll come back and revisit doing it on my desktop in a different video. But you do have enough presets to get you going. Depending on what your needs are, I'm pretty sure, like, at this point, there are enough sample packs, sound packs, expansion deals out there that you can do any genre of music you wanted to. I know when this first came out, it was considered like the EDM, type plugin, but there's some trap kits out there and some different expansion libraries for other genres of music. And now that they have the multi-sample engine and the sample engine, you can put whatever you want to in this machine. However, this is resource intensive. There's no way around it. For reference, in terms of how resource intensive this is, I'm going to pull up Falcon. Sorry. Because Falcon is also resource intensive. So give me a moment as I pull this up. Go in and open my engine. And let's start with, oh my word, overwhelmed. Let's do granular. So Falcon 3 is a powerhouse in its own right. Oh my word, I didn't mean to do that. Falcon 3 is a powerhouse in its own right. Also multi-synthesis engine type plugin, more on the modular side of things, can be as deep as you need it to be. But Falcon does not eat up the resources on my laptop the way Serum does. So those are my two bigger caveats with Serum. The amount of resources that it uses, and the simple fact like the notes were dropping off when I was doing chords, anything that involved me. And that's clearly not happening with Falcon. So those would be like my points of contention and things I would say that would hinder me from, dropping the money into Serum. However, the strengths of Serum, the ease of use for its interface, Serum was at one point considered like the industry standard plugins for like wavetable synthesis. And in a lot of ways, it still is a go-to because like the layout is simple, but it's powerful enough to use, and it's just a lot of cool things you can do in Serum too. So in that respect, like it's a great plugin. And if you got the first one, you already know what it is. You need to go ahead and just download the second one because it's free. And if you're on the fringes, I would say at least go ahead and download the demo, check it out, play with it, get your chops in and see what you like about it, and then make your decision from there. If you're someone that doesn't have a lot of plugins already and you're looking for something that's straightforward and easy to use and is going to get you sounds, a whole bunch of different sounds, in a simple to use format with their GUI and their interface, then I'd say go for Serum. If you're somebody who either is into hardware and like analog gear, or you already have enough plugins that will get you in that sonic territory, then you may not see the need of getting Serum. To me, Serum's wavetable editor is great, and in some ways it's still worth the the $100 to $200 whatever it is dollars that they're asking for by itself. But if you have a different workflow for generating wavetables, getting different sounds, or you have enough other plugins that covers that sonic territory, then I would say you probably don't need Serum 2. That's my opinion. I'm still like on the fence myself. So like you might see me with Serum 2. I might just break down and buy it. And then there are other days where I'm like, hey, I got enough going on right now. I don't really need Serum 2. But it's still nice to have. So let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching this video. I'll try to keep it as quick as possible because the last several times I shot this video, I just felt like it was too long. And no one needs to see me or listen to me rant and rave for like 30 minutes. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you for watching this video. I'm Tim Keys. I'm out. Peace. I'm still 30 minutes in. That's a bummer.